My name is Adia, and I am a youth fellow at the Legal Rights Center, and we have partnered with Performing Statistics to provide this great exhibit with our campaign End Youth Prisons, and today I'll be giving you a tour.
Hey, this is the Black Youth Healing Arts Center, a space for youth of color to have a safe space. We have healing opportunities here monthly, and we have the great opportunity to have an amazing exhibit in our gym. So welcome.
And as you come in, you will see the entrance to our exhibit. You can be greeted by Shrija. She will give you a pamphlet that will kind of give you some more in-depth information about our exhibit along with a map. This here is Samaje, and he will give you a great introduction to our exhibit, some of the themes, and also giving you a vision of hope that we see in our exhibit, along with the hard facts that may hit hard. As we walk through, you will see a couple youth from LA, Richmond, Philly, and Minnesota on the walls. And the first thing you may see is some of our poetry through art. We have a lot of visuals through wood pieces that are spray painted by youth with images of youth on them. Over here is our classroom setup, where you may see how the school to prison pipeline is put into place and how youth of color have been disproportionately affected. This is a documentary that Performing Statistics has made that gives you a visual into the life of youth that have been incarcerated and that have been dealing with the aftermath of that incarceration. And it gives you a bit of hope as well. This is an actual car seat where the stories of a youth that has been incarcerated for carjacking, and it kind of gives you a perspective on why that youth was carjacking and gives you a little bit more insight and actually gets you to kind of connect with the person who was at one point an offender. This here is actually a great timeline of many things that have affected youth incarceration laws in the United States over decades and centuries, going back to the 1600s. This here is actually a uniform that a youth may be put into if they were incarcerated. And as you can see, we have a couple more youth poetry through visual. Over here, we have a tower of cameras that is actually a call out to Target and their mass surveillance of youth who are of color and also displaced with homelessness, and how they've been heavily surveilled and how that has led to them being incarcerated. This speaks about the Downtown 100, which put many youth, but also other homeless and people of color into prison. With our poll of security cameras, it also talks about how Target was in collaboration with the Minneapolis Police Department to put those people in jail after being surveilled. You may see here that we have an actual prison cell, or our reenactment of a prison cell, that actually the user will be able to put on a set of virtual reality glasses where they will be put into that prison cell and actually get a feel of what it may be like to be in that prison cell. It can be very disheartening to listen to some of the things that we have provided, so many people need some time to reflect or maybe even take a break from the information that they're processing. Here we have a phone booth where you'll actually hear youth in the perspective of talking to their family. Some of that may be through poetry, but also maybe through self-testimonials. Over here, we have an illumination kind of piece where it talks about how this person has dreams, but they're in prison, so they can't achieve those dreams while they're in there. And going through this passageway, we open up into our youth future where no youth are incarcerated. So here we provoke thought of what it would be like to have a future where no youth are in prison. People get to make a visual of how they feel about a future with youth being free. This here is actually the merch that other youth have worn in other exhibits. We actually have our own. We did bomber jackets, and so kind of race car, NASCAR kind of theme of our theme of you jacked our future, so we jacked your cars. Here you'll see our youth fellows, actually. And so these are all youth fellows from Minneapolis and the Twin Cities. So you'll actually see some of us here. I am personally not on these, but you'll see some of my beautiful youth fellows. And as we walk through, you'll hear about our vision of our future without youth prisons and where youth are free. Welcome to our Take Action section. And so this is where people can get in contact with the Legal Rights Center and also give us a little insight on their experience at the exhibit. Here we have our t-shirts, So by Michael, which is our stand merch, which actually outlays the steps you should take when dealing with police or any figure of sorts. Here we have some really nice free posters for people to take home to be inspired by. This here, if you actually scan this QR code, our poster will actually come to life. So in other cities, we've done big pieces on buildings where you've been able to like swipe and other pieces of art will show up. And so this is kind of our mini version of that. And when you actually scan the QR code, this art moves into other art pieces. And we also are making totes. You actually have our screen printing on site, and so they're going on totes for people to also take away. And here, you will see our great leads, Kaylin and Lupita. And they're at our Take Action spot, so where you may take your survey about the exhibit and also get in contact with the Legal Rights Center.
So the campaign, it came about from a national campaign called No Kids in Prison. And No Kids in Prison actually partnered with Performing Statistics, who is our collaborator on this whole project. And basically this national campaign funds different states and local organizers to start their own abolitionist ending of youth incarceration advocacy projects in their own states. So the Legal Rights Center applied, and that's sort of how the campaign became a thing in Minnesota.
We're always really thinking about what does it look like to use art and collaborations with young people directly impacted by incarceration and young people organizing to end youth prisons. What becomes possible when they collaborate with artists to tell their stories in ways where they're making the recommendations about how to build a future where all youth are free.
So I connected with Performing Statistics, and we sort of came up with this idea of how to bring this traveling exhibition to Minnesota. So we were one of the lucky states to be chosen. The exhibit has been to Philly, they came to Minneapolis, they've been to LA, and now they're going to Chicago right after us.
The exhibit, it's amazing. I could not have imagined it to turn out like this. Just the weekly meetings that we had, just knowing that this is what the overall product looks like. I'm encouraging everyone to come and see it, to learn more about youth prisons, youth incarceration, and learning about restorative practices, because with restorative justice, that's basically an end to the prison system.
This exhibit is more than just like youth incarceration. It's more like just building community, bringing people out, making it so that everybody can see this, because it takes a village in order for things like this to stop.
Probably the biggest thing I learned is just incarceration, especially with youth, is such a huge issue. Since I'm the resource manager of my school's Black Student Union, it's my job to connect with other organizations for like partnerships. So I was like, this is something we have to do for a field trip. So
what'd you think?
I loved it. Like it's beautiful. I loved it here so much.
This is a pressing issue that really needs to be addressed. Just getting involved and really figuring out ways where in any capacity you can advocate for us, because we really need the support.
The Legal Rights Center is a law firm. We're not a youth program. And I just felt like it would be really valuable to bring young people into this work. And so that's what I did. And I believe all nonprofits, all corporate jobs everywhere should have young people at the table, because they're the ones consuming this. They're the ones that are the now. I think oftentimes we say that youth are the future, and I don't agree with that. They're really the now.
In order to live in a world where young people can thrive and fully be themselves, We need to all care. Anyone who's living and breathing in this world is impacted by prisons and incarceration. And I think it's important for all of us to really think of like how it fails and how it doesn't work, and imagine ways where we don't have to put young people in cages.
I hope that one day we can, as a society, just eliminate the evil of incarceration, especially with youth, because it's a very traumatizing and systemic issue that it's just been oppressive for so many years, especially among people of color. And I just wish we lived in a world where that just wasn't a problem anymore.
My hope for the future is that we will overall abolish youth prisons and prisons in general. I think we've all seen the lasting impacts that they have, not only on those directly impacted, but families, friends, everyday people. The stories need to be told.
My hope for the future would be for youth to just be able to be youth and, experience an actual childhood where they're not adultified and they're not being incarcerated, and they're actually able to go to school and feel accepted and wanted and, have a future that they truly deserve to have.
My hope for the future and youth prisons.